This is Good Morning County with Oklahoma County Assessor Larry Stein. We do have our silver sponsor today is the law firm of Voorhees and Voorhees. We're very excited to have their generous support and everything that they do. So thank you to Voorhees and Voorhees. I do believe we've got Mike Voorhees on the line. So thank you for your support, Mike. With that, I'd like to introduce our wonderful speaker for the day, and that is Mr. Larry Stein. Stein was elected Oklahoma County Assessor on November 6th of 2018 after serving more than 17 years as the Chief Deputy for former Assessor Mike Means and Leonard Sullivan. Born in London, England to an Air Force family, Larry attended nearly a dozen different public schools before his parents retired in Midwest City, and he graduated from Midwest City High School. Larry helps manage the Oklahoma County Assessor's Office budget of more than $7,078,000 employees. His duties include working on all aspects of the assessor's office, including being involved with helping balance and oversee the entire county budget of approximately $100 million. In addition, Larry works with county and state elected officials on property assessment issues, property tax reforms, and helping the public understand the complicated ad valorem system, the essential funding sources for public schools, technology centers, and state colleges. Larry also provides communications and messaging training seminars for businesses, government organizations, and has authored numerous articles published in local and international publications. The Oklahoma County Assessor's Office is the largest jurisdiction in Oklahoma. With that, Mr. Larry Stein, I am going to turn it over to you and we get rocking and rolling here.
Thank you so much. It's been great. Liz and Elaine, and I'm so happy that Voorhees and Voorhees are sponsoring today, because the reason that I'm even involved and a member of the South Oklahoma City Chamber is because of Mike Voorhees. He came to me and he said, "Hey, how'd you like to be a member of the South Oklahoma City Chamber?" And I said, "Well, that'd be a great idea." And he said, "Guess what? I'm going to pay your way the first year." And I said, "Well, how can I refuse?" And he says, "We've got a retreat coming up next week. Can you be there?" I said, "Okay." And I went to the retreat, and we all started talking about things and messaging, and Tyler Communications were there, and Matt, and all these great folks that I got to meet. And I'd known Mike for a long, long time. And when we started to work on things, they wanted to have more of a messaging. And I said, "Well, gosh, I'd love to help." And so another member of the chamber, Angela O'Keefe, and I have been doing these radio spots, and we're working on one tomorrow for the upcoming car show that's coming up. And we're excited about that, and being able to promote South OKC, because for all of us, it's about a quality of life. And our quality of life has really been kind of kicked in the pants for the past month and a half. So anyway, I appreciate you all. And I want to start out by saying thank you to the South Chamber. First of all, they're great folks. And I wouldn't be here without the South Chamber's help. I got to meet and create great friendships. And so many people think that politics is a dirty word or an unsavory word. But I've been involved in politics for a long time. And I know that really politics is about being friends. And I appreciate the friendships that I've created through the South Chamber, and that I've created through my entire career in politics. And this is, I wanted to give you an overview of the state of the county of Oklahoma County. Oklahoma County is the largest assessment district in the state. It's an incredibly large job, and we do it very efficiently. And if we can go to the next slide, I think it starts out with this. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the job of the Oklahoma County Assessor is to measure all of the properties and set a fair market value of all of those properties that are assessed for ad valorem purposes in Oklahoma County, that 720 square miles that we think is heaven right here in the central part of the state. We are the best there is, and I'm not saying that because I'm bragging, it's the truth. We have a standard that is set by the state of Oklahoma, and the state equalization performance audit is done every year on every county in the state. And the next slide shows that we've done 5 peats. We did 3-peat, 4-peat, and we're 5-peats. We're the only county in the state of Oklahoma over the last 7 years that has scored 5 perfect scores of all of the things that we do. And when you think about it, we have around 330,000 parcels of property, which are individual units of property. We have hundreds and thousands of records that we keep on those properties. We have all sorts of copies of documents for people filing for exemptions. We have all the personal property records that we have to maintain. This last year, we sent around 212,000 pieces of mail out. It is an incredible job, and we do it with 78 employees. 78 employees is approximately 50 fewer than the folks at the Oklahoma Tax Commission estimate that we would need to do our job. And when you look at what we do in Oklahoma County, we're about $1 billion of a business, and we're really a big nonprofit. We collect money and we spend it on the services that are expected of us at the county. And we also provide a lot of money to the school systems, nearly $100 million to the local schools in Oklahoma County. And that's primarily what the job of the assessor does. And we also, through the assessment of value for ad valorem purposes, create about 20 or 84% of the entire county budget through the assessment of property taxes. Nobody likes property taxes. I love to tell the story of the guy from New Jersey who was at the back of a room one time when I was talking about values and I was looking at people's values and records, and the guy at the back of the room was smiling. And I said, "Can I help you, sir?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "I was wondering what all you people are complaining about." And he said, "Last year I lived in New Jersey in a house that they said was worth $350,000. And he said, I live in a house in Oklahoma County now that's worth $350,000. And it's much, much nicer than the house I lived in New Jersey." He said, "Last year in New Jersey, I paid $18,000 in property taxes. This year in Oklahoma County, I'm paying $3,600 in property taxes. So what are you people complaining about?" Well, a lot of people don't get to see it because they've never been out of Oklahoma, but we have an incredible value. The property taxes that we pay are among the lowest in the country. You can see on this slide the differences of what happens in the different big companies that are here. We have Chesapeake with $11 billion in assets, Continental $15 billion, Bank First $7 billion. Oklahoma County is about $1 billion in money that's taxed every year in providing services. And out of those $1 billion, we get about 10%, 10 cents of every dollar to fund all of the services of Oklahoma County. That includes the jail and all of the elected offices, and we subsidize other things like the district attorney's office. And in Oklahoma County, we have 720 square miles, 330,000 parcels worth $7.6 billion. Now, the scary part of this is that 21%. Oklahoma County, just those 720 square miles out of nearly 70,000 square miles statewide, we have 21% of the entire state's value that is assessed for ad valorem in the entire state. Think about that. Nearly a quarter of all of the value in the entire state of Oklahoma is in Oklahoma County. So when people talk about how the economy is doing, if the economy is doing well in Oklahoma County, then schools are going to do well. The services that are provided by cities and towns that get property tax dollars, they're going to be doing well. And if those markets continue, then we'll continue to do well. We may limp, we may shudder for a little bit, but we'll be coming back, because right now in Oklahoma County, I don't know if you've been out shopping for houses. I know a couple of you may be realtors, and I've got a realtor friend, a very dear friend. She's selling houses and buying houses and doing all sorts of things. One house that she bought, it was a mid 150 range price in near the school of Cassidy School. If the sign went in the yard, she purchased that house for Cassidy, the school, in less than 10 minutes. I mean, depending on the price point, houses are an incredible value. And you look at it kind of one way or the other. You're seeing people that either think, oh my gosh, I want to get into a house now because I don't know what's going to happen. Or you may have a lot of people that are baby boomers or investors that are saying, gosh, I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe I need to divest myself of the houses that I've had for rent houses. And that's feeding, it's a yin and a yang, a positive and a negative that's growing the market. Because right now, if you're under $200,000 in Oklahoma County, those houses are getting gobbled up fast. Anyway, next one. And we've had steady and consistent growth. 1980, we had $1.2 billion, $1.3 billion in ad valorem. The latest numbers, we have $7.5 billion in ad valorem in Oklahoma County. That's an incredible amount of growth. Since 1980 to 2018, we've had a 586% increase. And if you want to look at what's happened with $1 million homes, in 2005, we had $274 million homes. In 2019, we had $1,640 million homes. That's a 500% growth rate. So that, and a lot of that, there's a lot of places, people say, well, oh, those are all in Nichols Hills or some, we got $1 million homes out in Jones, Oklahoma. And a lot of that value is in the home. Now, in other places, we've had a modest, maybe 1,800 square foot home that may sit on 10 acres. And in those 10 acres may be driving the value of that property and pushing it over $1 million because of the acreage and the land. It's an interesting combination of things. And it appears that we're just continuing on a steady growth rate in Oklahoma County because of and in the surrounding areas, the other counties around us, the metropolitan statistical area, Cleveland County, Lincoln County, Logan County, Canadian County. I always love to ask the question, it's a trick question, but does anybody know the largest city in Canadian County? It's a trick question because the largest city in Canadian County, which is the county to the west of us, the largest city is Oklahoma City. Anyway, next one. Everything starts with assessment. And as I mentioned earlier, we're providing about 84%, about 83.5% of the amount of money that comes into the county through the assessment of value for ad valorem purposes. That's 78 employees, and we're about 10% of the entire states. And because we have 52 fewer employees than the tax commission would think we'd need to do our job, because we use really advanced, leading, cutting-edge technology, we're saving taxpayers about $2.5 million every year on reduced salary and benefits by using that technology. This next slide is very important because this is where your money goes. Now, so many of you may think, well, counties work on property tax and cities work on sales tax. Well, it's really not true. And I know the legislature had been talking about a possibility of being able to have the property taxes, having a vote on property taxes to be able to support other things besides dedicated projects. And you can see right there on the bottom, cities and towns in Oklahoma County, Bethany, Choctaw, Del City, Midwest City, Nichols Hills, Oklahoma City, and the Village currently receive about 9.5 cents of the property tax dollar to support dedicated projects that they have created a bond indebtedness for. It can also happen if there's a judgment against the city for something that happened from one of their employees. Now, what does that mean? That means that the cities are looking at the possibility of increasing up to 5 mills, which would be about $50 million in increased property taxes if they were to take all 5 mills. Actually, that'd be about $50 million. So this is where your property tax dollar goes. This is on our website, and it shows you that schools get 58 cents, career tech colleges, South OKC, Oklahoma City Community College, we work with them. There's a dedicated property tax that supports that school. And then we've got the county getting 9.74 cents. When you put it in there with the cities and towns, and then the TIF districts, the tax increment financing districts, which are part of that, actually the cities and towns get more of the property tax dollar than Oklahoma County gets. And that's part of the dilemma we're facing when we're trying to be able to operate the jail, which takes about half of our budget every year. But this is it's a very important slide so you can see where your property tax dollar goes. Show me the money. This is the big deal for us. $595 million for the 20 Oklahoma County independent and dependent schools in 2018. That's how much money they got from the property, they received from the property tax dollar in Oklahoma County. And that's really, Oklahoma County is a very, very, and in fact, the state of Oklahoma is a very high percentage on the dollars that are provided per capita for schools. But when you compare us with other states, we're low as the total amount of dollars. We're high on a percentage, but we're low on the total dollars. That's why when you look at property taxes being 45th or 46th in Oklahoma, that's also where the salaries for our school teachers also land, because we pay them, we take a lot of money for our schools, but the money that we have doesn't compare to larger states. After all, we're mostly a rural state, and that's where that we don't have a lot of that value that comes in like a New York or a Florida or a Texas or a California. I talked about this earlier about the 50 employees. We have 50 employees, fewer employees than needed, and that's because we have technology. And you know, we have send out letters of valuation every year to tell everybody what the current market value is. Last year, we had 13.5 million visitors to our website, and that's going up all the time because we're providing all sorts of new services. Saving taxpayers money every day. We have a 5% and a 3% limitation on assessment increases. It's not a limit on property taxes, just the assessed value. And you can see on this how we were going up during the 2000s on value every month, every year, and the public passed limitations on values. Currently, if you own a property, a homestead property, that's your home, and your value is going up exponentially because of the market forces that are doing it. And we're not doing it, but that's what's happening when market forces are driving prices up. The assessment of value, which is used to calculate your property taxes, is limited to 3%. But as we showed on the other slide, schools and cities and towns can pass new taxes. So while your value may remain the same, if you voted yes on a bond package, then your property taxes could go up because of that bond. Some people may remember Stan Miller, a friend of mine. I went to high school with him, and he was on Channel 9, and he was complaining publicly on Facebook and shaming me, demanding that I've raised his property taxes and his value didn't go up. Well, he's right. His value didn't go up, but the city where he lived, they passed a big bond package. So the property taxes went up despite the fact that the value had not gone up. So that's what happens sometimes. But this can show you the amount of money we're saving and every year for taxpayers. And it also indicates the difference between what we assess every year and what we collect every year. There's about $1 billion difference. It's a cushion between the actual taxes that are paid and the amount of money that could be taxed. And that's important when we're looking at an economic downturn that could be happening with COVID-19. We really have no idea yet, but we'll be looking at that next year. My property taxes are too high. Well, in Oklahoma County last year, we had 182 appeals or protests out of more than 200,000 people that received mail, and out of nearly 330,000 parcels where anybody can come down and complain about the value that we've set. In El Paso, Texas, they had more than 30,000 appeals. So we think, because of the stories like New Jersey, that we think we're doing a pretty good job if we only have 182 out of more than around 330,000 people that own property in the county. We think that's a pretty good rate. It's less than 0.5%. And that's unheard of, because nationally it could be up to 22% of the number of people who own property appealing their values. Great new stuff. This is the little corner up there. If you're a realtor and you ever work in other counties, there is an opportunity for you to be able to get data, parcel data collected by the assessors in every one of the counties in the state of Oklahoma. If you click on there, it will take you to the page of OK Maps, and that will show you all of the counties in the state of Oklahoma. And then you can click on the little slide over on the side that says land parcels. You can download all of the data, and then you can click on any of the counties and you can go in and look at the parcel data collected by the assessor. It's your data, you paid for it, and you can check and see the value that the assessor says on that parcel of property anywhere in the state of Oklahoma. And we're really excited about providing that through the departments of the state of Oklahoma, the GIS departments. because it's really terrific data, and it really helps you to find out what's going on in other counties. So that's it. If you have any questions, snide remarks, I'd be happy to do it. That's my phone number, and that's my cell phone number. If you ever have any questions, please call me, and I'd be happy to ask you. And I'm around all the time, so you can call me anytime. I do want to tell you that I grew up in Midwest City, and I have fond memories of that. I'm a bomber, and we have a very active, that's our mascot, the B-52 bomber. It's changed. I think it's on the B-2 bomber, but we all have T-shirts that we've printed up, and it says, once a bomber, always a bomber. And I'm allowed to wear that T-shirt anywhere I want, except to the airport, where I get a free prostate exam and a colonoscopy. So I can't hear anybody laugh. I hope they're laughing. So, and if you're not laughing, shame on you.
I'm pretty sure people are don't worry about that. I know that you were wanting to speak about the COVID situation as well after this, and so if you want to go into that, or if you want to see if anybody has questions on
I do. If I could just briefly, one of the scariest things that used to happen on the old MASH series, I hope you've watched it once or twice, but it was when they said bug out. That was the big thing. They come up to Colonel Potter and they say, uh-oh, looks like we're gonna have to bug out, which means that we're in danger of perhaps death from the enemy or worse, and we've got to take everything we've got. We have to tear it down, put it on trucks, move it somewhere else, and be operational in 20 hours or 10 hours or however long it takes. And in our office, when this COVID-19 outbreak happened, we wanted to provide all the information we could and all the services that we could as seamlessly as possible. And what we did was we got all of our staff together. We took as many of the computers that we could, set them up remotely. So instead of having 78 employees on 2 floors at the downtown courthouse, we set up about 75 offices around at homes of all of our employees. We directed all of the telephone calls from the computerized system we had to their cell phones. Every service that we provide was there for anyone who needed it. If they had to have something done in person, and there are documents that need to be done here with our staff, we made an appointment. They came in, we wore masks, we protected ourselves and our employees, and they came in and did that. But it was a phenomenal achievement. And now, we're looking at it from our perspective of being able to have a lot of folks at home offices. I think there's a lot of businesses as well that may be, and I know there are particular businesses that are looking at $20,000 a month rental payments for properties in exclusive businesses, business towers. And they're thinking, you know what, we just set up everybody at home and it really works out great. What can we do to change the work environment? And these were the kind of scientific, futuristic science fiction things we thought about 20 years ago when we'd see people working at home or doing things on computers. Say, well, that'll never happen. And the reality is, the things we achieved in this office by having remote offices with our staff, the only way we could do it is with the technology we have today. 20 years ago, impossible. But with the technology that we have now, with portable Wi-Fi, with laptops, with using the computer internet systems that we have, it's a phenomenal achievement. And the best part is that everyone continued to get every service that they expected from our office. And I'm really excited about what the future might hold for those employees. So anyway, I'll be happy to answer any questions. And I think I have a couple of questions that were sent to me. And if you've got those, Liz, I'd be happy to oh, here it is. One of them is, what criteria do you use to approve or decline a request for tax deduction? Well, that's one of the things that we don't do. We don't do taxes in the assessor's office. We assess value, and we assess value based on last year's data. There was an article in the newspaper by the Oklahoman. It was the top page of the business section about 2 weeks ago, and it's on our webpage. And I was explaining how this process works. For 2019, we set the value of all the property for 2019 based on January 1st of 2020. When those values are set, we'll send out a notice of valuation, and anyone can contact us and say, I want to appeal my value. Then please bring information regarding the value and other properties from 2019. If you want to come in now and say, well, COVID-19 has really dropped the value of my home or my business, that's an issue that we will address next year, because we have to balance a budget based on amounts of dollars that are already certified to us. And this new process of appeals gives us an opportunity for everyone with property in the county to have their due process rights of coming to us and appealing their value. And then we can set the new value, and then the assessment of taxes are based on that new value. If you can provide data that can explain to us why you think the value, by coming in and saying, well, COVID-19 really well, if it has, it will be decided next year. We'll wait and see what the impact is. But we have to base it on, we're always 1 year behind. And that's part of the reason that counties are usually very solvent, is because we are always looking at the existing dollars, never predicting what might happen next year. Now, in other counties across the country, what you've heard stories where somebody says, well, my property taxes doubled. Well, that's not going to happen in Oklahoma County. But when somebody in another county in Florida or Texas or someplace where they have a county that works on a budget, they say, well, how much money do we need next year? And say, well, we need X number of dollars. Say, okay, well, how much assessed value do we have? And they'll work up that number and then say, how do we get to that number, that budget number? What ad valorem rate, what millage rate do we need to get that money? So if you take the double whammy of an economic downturn in Florida, and they still need all this money for operating their county sheriff's office and all their other, they will apply a millage rate to be able to get to that amount of money. And it could double your property taxes, but that is extremely unlikely for that to happen anywhere north of the Red River, because we are a balanced budget county, and we will base it on the available funds. The other question I had was, so bring data if you want to have a reduction in value, not taxes. What methods do we use to determine the value of property? Well, we call it a SIC program. SIC, sales, income, or cost. We're required to use the most relevant form of assessing value based on that. Sales of different properties can be very useful on commercial properties and residential properties. Income approach, if you've got a hotel or a commercial property where you're making money, then if your income approach would work better for us, we're required by statute to do that. Cost is another issue. If you want to have the cost used, that's one of those things we can use to assess the market value of the property. Here's another one. How do the demographics of a neighborhood affect the value of a property? Not much. The demographics, if younger people are moving into a neighborhood, it doesn't matter to us. What matters to us is how much are they willing to pay? Are they paying higher than market values? Are neighborhoods go through you've seen what's happened. I hope you've seen what's happened down in the Mesta Park area or in the Midtown area, where, and this is another thing. I mean, I've seen the values, the property, and I've talked to the realtors. There are as-is properties in Midtown, airplane homes, the homes that were built back in the 20s and teens. Those homes as is are selling for $120 to $130 a square foot. 20 years ago, you could buy them for 3 box tops and 50 cents. I mean, these homes now are in great demand, and they are being purchased mostly by people who are going to flip them, or they want to live in that area. They may not have any children. They don't care about school districts. They just care they've got internet access and a really great place to go and have a pizza or a burger or a dinner and a beverage, and then get home. So the market values, I think, really are catching up. And when the demographics of a neighborhood don't mean as much to us as what the market sales are doing, because we're basing our values on the data we collect from sales from the previous year. And I can tell you that those in a lot of those neighborhoods, there are some places in Oklahoma County where they may be dropping a little bit, but I can tell you it's a hot market in Oklahoma County, continues to be. Now there are some great values too. So you can still depending on how much you want to invest, you can still get into a house for $40,000 in Oklahoma County. Believe it or not, you may need some repairs, but you can get in there and start creating an investment property or live there. And in some of those neighborhoods, that's what's causing the regentrification of those neighborhoods. I have one more question, I think, here. What's the most challenging property you've evaluated? I think the most challenging on these has to do with houses that may be overbuilt or those that have underreported features of their home. Believe it or not, there are people that will build an addition in their property and they won't get a building permit. I know, you're shocked. I'm shocked too. And then when they're ready to sell the property, they contact us and say, well, you don't have the correct square footage on your records. Well, wait a minute. What happened? Well, we have an enclosed 800 square foot patio that we have, and we need to have that in because we're selling our house, and that needs to be on the MLS listing. So would you change your records so MLS will reflect that? Other properties that may be in a neighborhood where there are 1,200 square foot homes that have 2 bedrooms and 1 bath. It's a home from the 40s or 50s that were being commonly built everywhere in the county. And then someone adds an upstairs, or they add a huge 500 square foot addition in the back. And then they say, well, other houses are selling for $100 a square foot. I want to put my house on the market for $100 a square foot. Well, your house in this neighborhood isn't going to be worth $210,000 because location. Now, if you had a 2,100 square foot house in a neighborhood of other 1,800 to 2,200 square foot homes, then there would be an accommodation there. But when you're building a 2,100 square foot house in a neighborhood that's 50 years old or 60 years old, that's filled with 1,200 square foot homes, it's nice. Maybe you need to talk a little bit more to a realtor who knows the area, because they're going to be able to help you understand that it's unlikely you're going to get $210,000 in a neighborhood where the houses are selling for $120,000 or less. So those are the ones that are unusual. Otherwise, I'll be happy to answer any questions anybody might have.
Larry, we did have another question come through from Marla Robinson. She said, good morning, Larry. I'm in Cleveland County. Do you work with other counties to help them become as efficient as your offices?
Yeah, I know Marla. I love Marla. We went to school together, and I know she has a brother. And I would ask Marla, so have you ever tried to tell your brother what to do? Doesn't work very well. And has your brother ever tried to tell you, Marla, what to do? And Marla would probably say, yeah, it didn't work out so well. He's still got a black eye. But the dilemma is we have other counties that with the magnitude of the job they do in probably 7 counties, you got Oklahoma County, Canadian County, Cleveland County, there's Comanche County, Garfield County, Tulsa County, Washington County. There's about 10 of them across the state. With the magnitude of what they have to do, they have to have the technology. They're buying the technology independently. About 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago, we went to the legislature and we created a brand new fund for smaller counties to be able to purchase computer technology so they can better do their job. And that's helped them have available funds. And the state of Oklahoma has upgraded the technology available to those counties. And there is a brand new system that's being installed statewide so those counties can have better access to those records and they can provide better access to the citizens of the county. When we're looking at what happens with our county we have what happens in other counties across the state. We have people from around the world that are looking at properties in Oklahoma County. In fact, we have a county commissioner now. When he purchased his house, he did all of his research when he was stationed in Kuwait in a war zone. He did all of his research on our website. In fact, we know that there are people from France, India, all over the world that use our website to look at properties. And we don't have, sadly, we have a very limited number of people from the Turks and Caicos and in the Caribbean islands. And Michael Morrison, my chief deputy, and I have decided that we will go down there spare absolutely no expense to go down to the Caribbean and visit with those governments and promote our website so we can get more people to visit from the Caribbean islands. And we'll be gone for the next 2 months, but we'll be back.
Sounds like a plan, Larry. Let them know about the South Oklahoma City Chamber of Commerce as well and what we can do.
I will. LiveSouthOKC.com.
There you go. There you go. We did have one other comment in the chat, and it's more of a comment. It's from Shannon Lockwood. And she just wanted to let you know that Valerie Noah in your office was very quick and efficient in helping her with a name adjustment on our mortgage, and just wanted to thank you for being innovative during the pandemic. So
well, thank you so much. And you know, I always like to tell the story about the history. And I was thinking about this last night. I was out in my front yard with my new telescope looking at the moon. And I started thinking about that moon has seen so much, and so has the sun over the last millions of years. And we've suffered through the Black Plague. We've suffered through wars and pestilence and everything over the last millennial time period, but we've always survived. And when we look at what's happening now, we're going to survive this too. And when we provide those services, it's really great, because I was thinking about this the other day. When you think about history, they always talk about, wow, the pharaohs, they were the ones that built those pyramids. Well, wait a minute. You know, you're talking about stones the size of buses being moved with ropes and pieces of wood. It's phenomenal. I don't know if you could ever accomplish that again with all the EPA guidelines and other, construction codes and city councils and everything else. But back then, they were able to accomplish these feats that are amazing and are wonders of the world. But the pharaohs didn't build the pyramids. A great staff built those pyramids, and they built those great walls in China. And it was because of the execution of incredible staff members that made those things happen. And that's what we have in the Oklahoma County Assessor's Office. And I am so proud of the folks that I get to work with, because when we talked about working at home, they're there. They're working all the time. And it's just been a tremendous opportunity to transform the workplace of the assessor's office. And I think that I believe that and when you compare with what's happened in the 76 other counties in Oklahoma, we're leading the way, and we may be leading the way nationally as well. And I'm going to submit what we've done as a paper to the International Association of Assessing Officers magazine to show what we've done, because almost everybody needs to have a continuity of services program set up. And this is what we've done is, we always want to make sure those county services are available. And if something terribly tragic happened to Oklahoma County, the building downtown, it's much like a church. A church isn't a building, it's people. And Oklahoma County Assessor's Office is people. And the way we've set up this transition, we can work anywhere. So if the building in Oklahoma County, the county building was destroyed, we'd still be able to provide all the services we do. We may have to meet them at a park to be able to get the documents notarized and everything executed, or take some extraordinary steps during a mail. But we can do everything we can do without this building, which is phenomenal.
It is. It is always interesting to see how innovative people can be during a time of crisis. And that's one thing I think that everyone is going to take from this time in the last couple months.
Right.
And I'm looking forward to seeing the growth that happens because of that as well. So.
Oh yeah, you bet. And the article that we have on our website, I'd encourage you to join it and read it. What's the impact on COVID-19? We will look at it later, after January 1st of next year. When people come in, there will be a damage to the businesses, because those that are basing their values on income, when you have the government come down and shut you down, shut your restaurant, shut your hotel, shut your business down by fiat. I mean, that's really the scary part. Nobody voted on those things. My legislators didn't vote on it. They were executive orders. They were orders from mayors and the governor, and they forced those businesses to lose money. And there's a tragedy of those people who have lost their jobs. There will be an impact. We don't know if there will be an impact by the time we assess for value. But we anticipate, you look around, there has to be. The other concern that we have is that right now there are some scams going on as far as unemployment goes. In Oklahoma County, we have approximately 1,600 employees. There are more than 40 false claims for unemployment against the county. We've had 5 in the assessor's office alone. In fact, one of the executive assistants came in and said, "Hey, guess what? I don't work here anymore." I said, "Really?" She said, "Yeah, I received a letter that says I've been furloughed and I'm unemployed and I'm making a claim against the county for unemployment." So there's 2 things. First of all, we're going to prosecute the heck out of these people because that's my money and it's your money and we're going to protect it. Secondly, what's the real number on unemployment in Oklahoma? If these fraudulent claims are out there, it could be 4 or 5% as far as an unemployment level in Oklahoma, less than what's being reported because of these fraudulent claims. And that could very well be impacting some of the claims, the other claims from people that are trying to get their unemployment, because it's being jammed up by false claims from people who are trying to rip off the state and the county and everybody else. So any business folks out there, please be advised, work with your HR and check with your folks and see, are these people still employed? Were they ever employed? Or how long have they been gone? Because there's a lot of fraudulent claims out there, so be careful.
Yeah, thank you for that, Larry. Let me see. It looks like we have one other question that just came through.
Shannon Lockwood says that's right. Someone did a fraudulent claim in my name on OESC and sent a letter to their employer. So there you go.
Yeah. Does anyone else have any questions for Larry Stein before we sign off?
But can I make one more plug?
Of course you may.
We love doing this with anybody. If you got a realtor group and you want to talk about what the condition of the county is, or you just want to learn how to use our website better, we can put on what we call a webucation class, and we can help you get some of the, it's like everything else. I mean, when somebody bought their first computer and they said, "Man, I'm doing all my checks and my check registry on Excel." So he says, "What's that?" Well, there's a lot of stuff that's on a computer. Well, there's a lot of stuff on our webpage. I had a friend come in and he said, I was using your website the other day to make a list of all the property owners in my neighborhood. I said, "Okay, did you use our features to pull out all that through an Excel spreadsheet?" He said, "What?" I said, "Yeah, you can pull out all the names of all the owners of the property and then you can just make a mail merge list." He said, "Well, I didn't know you could do that." I said, "Yeah, let me show you." So I showed it to him. He said, "You could have saved me about 5 hours of work if I'd have known about that." So if you want to try something or you need some data about property, send us a message. We may have an easy way for you to be able to do that, because realtors use our website all the time to farm a neighborhood by creating labels that are created off of our webpage free of charge. And you can create a mail merge and then you can send out to a whole neighborhood some cards. So please use us when you can. We're happy to help.
Well, thank you for that. With that, Larry, thank you so very much for your time today and just your enthusiasm for our county and making sure that we're doing right by property owners. So
I got a question, one more question that popped up. I guess you didn't see it. Cynthia Cox was asking, can we ever file 901 forms online? One of the things that's really neat about this is the federal government has provided about $47 million for Oklahoma County, and they want us to do what we can to use those funds as judiciously as we can to provide better services. And many of the things we're looking at are electronic filings that are secure and we can do, but that we haven't, up until now, we haven't had the funds available or the programs that we felt were sufficient to be able to accomplish that, to file homestead exemptions, 100% disabled military veteran exemptions, 901s, 936s, all those things that need to be done it could be done electronically. We want to find a program that's secure and provides the quality that we need to be able to execute those exemptions and other filings. And we think that we'll be able to get a lot of that done with these funds that are available this year. So that's good news.
it is very good. I'm glad you saw that. It had just popped up. So
yep.
Thank you for that question, Cynthia.
Liz, thanks for all you do. Thanks so much. I appreciate you guys.
Of course. And one more shout out. Thank you to Mike and Sharon Voorhees at Voorhees and Voorhees, attorneys at law, for being our silver sponsor. We've got a virtual business briefing next week on Tuesday. We would love for any of you guys to join us for that as well. It's on PPP Next Steps, and it will be conducted by one of the tax partners at Eide Bailly. So it's going to be a great seminar as well. If you have questions about that, please reach out to the chamber. You know how to get a hold of us, 634-1436. We are here for you guys. So Larry, again, thank you. And thank you to everyone who joined us this morning. We look forward to seeing all of you soon. Thank you.
Let's hope so.
Yes. Bye, guys.
Stay safe.